Hey, everybody, welcome. I have not been this annoyed in a long time. This this Bilt Rewards, the more I look into it, the more it pisses me off. But the good news is Bitcoin earlier today crossed $110,000 for a little bit, still up over 109,000 something dollars a coin. Welcome, everybody. So let's get the numbers way up. Share away, thumbs up, share. Uh, yeah, we have this company that is making paying your rent a nightmare. This company that makes paying your rent a nightmare, and Forbes thinks that they could be worth $20 billion, according to a Forbes tweet. They could be worth $20 billion for what? For siloing people's payments. Like, instead of weird apps that collect all your information and create a weakness point, right? So there are people on Twitter today complaining about security issues. Rewards who used Bilt. Let's get the numbers. This is really disturbing. Of course, the Bitcoin growth is great, but everything else kind of bothers me. Uh, so there's like right and wrong in this world, and some people don't get that. Some people in fintech and some people in journalism, they don't understand that it's not so much good and evil. There's actually right and wrong. There's aesthetic purity versus garbage, right? There's good experiences versus bad experiences. And what I've looked into so far about this Bilt Rewards, I don't like it. They're taking over the country's rental payments here in the United States. It's too weird. So yeah, Bilt Rewards is a solution in search of a problem. Rent was already solved. Credit cards, ACH, checks. Those are your options, right, for paying your rent every month. Then Bilt shows up, B-I-L-T, Bilt. They show up. Their founder is basically known, some guy. I can't even find much info about him except he used to work at Tinder. Does that make him the future finance genius of the US? Is he the new Jamie Dimon? He used to work at Tinder. Beyond that, I literally can't find any information about this man. And he's consolidating all the rental payments in this country. And nobody else is talking about it. Hey, journalism, what's going on? Who the fuck is this guy? What's going on here, folks? So again, Bilt shows up, this random app, founder basically unknown, and suddenly tenants across the United States face hidden credit card fees and get locked into a reward scheme. They get locked into this Bilt reward scheme that follows them even if they switch units or landlords. Even if you switch to a different rental company in a different state, you're forced to use the same tracking program to pay your rent. What the fuck is this? It feels more like a marketing trap than innovation. In 2025, we should be paying rent with a Bitcoin QR code, not getting funneled into some guy's weird end game. So again, Forbes speculating that this guy who created Bilt, it might be worth more than $20 billion. Well, if some scammy rent payment portal that barely even fucking works, if that's worth $20 billion, then what is our sacred crypto worth, folks? What is our sacred crypto worth? Welcome, everybody. Again, two purposes of today's stream: calling out an awful service that is starting to corner the market for making your rental payment. And this isn't just like low end rental buildings, also high end luxury buildings. And this company is come out of nowhere. Their founder, all I can find about him is that he used to work at Tinder, and he has some presence that looks very small for a founder of his stature. He's like an unknown. The guy's like a total nobody. And suddenly every American has to give this guy their payment details. and be part of his weird program, like he's a major bank or something. Like if he were JP Morgan, sure, I'd understand. If JP Morgan wanted to roll out a rental payment program, and if they wanted to give you reward points, or if Citibank wanted to do that, I'd understand. Here, this guy's like a nobody. In fact, his service rejected my Citi credit card earlier today, and I tried to use that. So it doesn't work with Citibank. It doesn't work with Robinhood credit card. It takes in all your information. It feels like an app from 2005. And then at the other end is Bitcoin. At the total opposite end of these financial parasites creating apps and sacrificing all of our privacy and putting all of our sacred information in centralized databases that are super fucking easy for the North Koreans and the Chinese and the NSA and everybody else. Super easy for them to grab and pilfer. Why do we have to do this? Why do I have to sign my life over just to make a rental payment? Rental payments were already solved. Again, credit card, check, bank transfer. Rental payments have been solved for the last 20 years, literally. This guy created a solution in search of a problem. So now we centralize everybody's info. We centralize it all, right? We charge you massive credit card processing fees. So my most recent fee on Bilt was like $200. $200, then I got like $37 in rewards, which it had trouble redeeming. How ghetto is your fucking app if you can't even redeem the points that you're bestowing upon people as some kind of weird, uh, you know, like reconciliation for charging them so much. Absolutely. You keep mentioning Gemini's credit card. Can you please explain what your experience was? Because you keep leaving these comments and it's a little weird, bro. I've never been a Gemini credit card promoter. I don't have a Gemini credit card. I think Gemini is probably one of the shittier crypto services at this point because there are easier ways to use Bitcoin than Gemini, right? Cash App, Robinhood, even Coinbase is a better service. Then you send it to your own wallet, and then you don't have to worry about the practices of that particular service. Whole point of Bitcoin. So the Gemini credit card, I bear no responsibility for, but I'm happy to hear what your issues are with it. Absolutely. We're here to call out all this shit, all this centralized shit that makes us victims. I feel like a victim using Bilt. It feels like a fucking hustle. It feels like Tony Soprano style hustle. Why did all these massive rental companies decide on this shitty app founded by a guy who has no background? And they try to funnel you. They try to funnel you into signing up for Bilt's credit card, right? So they charge you massive fucking fees on your rental payments. And they push their credit card, the Bilt Rewards credit card. If you use our credit card, you won't have to pay any rental fees. Like, how predatory is this? How fucking predatory is that? We won't charge you $200 on top of your rent if you use our branded credit card. How does that help people? How does that help millennials? Somebody asks, what is preventing one from sabotaging the Bitcoin network by storing contraband in the blockchain? I don't. You have to explain what you're talking about. Sabotage. So storing contraband in the blockchain, you can't store much on Bitcoin's blockchain. Very limited text amount, right? You can. What did Satoshi do? Like one sentence. Satoshi signed that transaction and he referenced the Financial Times article or whatever to show that he was pissed off about the financial crisis, the 2008 financial crisis. So you can get like a sentence in there, talking either a sentence or a hyperlink, but not a clickable hyperlink, right? Just the URL. So there's not much in terms of like an incriminating payload. There's not much that would really damage the blockchain. That was what they tried to do years ago. Some of the people who wanted to see crypto not take off, they spread this notion that if you download the whole blockchain or if you host the node, that you're automatically committing crimes. And obviously that's not true because like BlackRock and Fidelity and Cash App, Square, PayPal. These companies aren't all committing crimes every time they load up a Bitcoin node. So there's just kind of a misunderstanding of how computer science works and trying to scare people from running a Bitcoin node. And you can see if you want Bitcoin to fail, you can see why you would want to scare people out of actually downloading the whole blockchain. The blockchain is like the Bible, right? So if you're a pastor, if you're an honest pastor, you want your congregation to consult the Bible in their own time, right? By all means, have a Bible by your bedside, right? If you're an honest preacher or an honest pastor, if you're totally dishonest and you want to consolidate power in yourself, you say, hey, don't read the Bible, let me interpret it for you. And that's how it kind of is, these people who tried to scare us out of downloading the whole blockchain. Again, what incriminating payload is on the blockchain that's good enough for PayPal and it's good enough for BlackRock and it's good enough for the fucking White House who launched a Bitcoin reserve, right? Their executive order. It's good Bitcoin node, but all of us are supposed to be, oh, scared there could be a nasty sentence in there. Bitcoin is so the future, and the people who tried to stop it are so fucking dumb. Like low IQ beyond belief. The only thing that'll stop Bitcoin is a quantum array, which we're probably 3 years away from. So if you want to worry about problems that don't yet exist, that's your problem. All right, so we got updates on what's wrong with the Gemini credit card. Ken says they canceled the card with no reason. Now I can't withdraw the points I've earned or the cash funds I put in. My 24-year-old son is working on this and he is in banking and says it's bull. Well, hey, Winklevoss twins. If anybody out there works for the Winklevoss twins, can you help Ken out? Set Ken right. Ken's been in Bitcoin for a long time. Set Ken right. Here's the best credit card, if you can get it. This is the absolute best. It's the Robinhood Gold Card. In my opinion, it doesn't get any better. American Express and all these jokers doesn't compete with this. This is actual customer support. It's made out of literal gold. And 3% cash back. 3% cash back, folks. But yeah, we're calling out shitty services today. So Robinhood, excellent. So far, excellent. Robinhood, high marks. This Bilt Rewards, it seems like a scam. How does this help us as renters that you chase us from property to property and you charge what are at the absolute upper end of credit card fees? Then you give a very small amount back in terms of points, which is all just a means of keeping people locked into your shitty app. And if the app weren't so fucking glitchy, and embarrassing, I wouldn't even be doing this video. Because what do I care, right? I'm not short Bilt. I don't think they're even a public company. I'm not in any way benefiting from shitting on this service. It's just truly horrific. Like what happened? So all the high-end rental companies in the United States, if you had the credit, they would let you write a check or use a credit card or do a bank transfer to pay your rent every month. This is a problem that did not exist, right? Paying your rent was not an issue. The only issue is if you didn't have the money, you couldn't pay rent. But for rich people, paying rent was not an issue. In comes Bilt. In comes this fucking scammy middleware to make it seem like you're getting a great deal by paying top-end credit card fees. It's insane. It's actually insane. It's actually one of the shittiest businesses I've ever looked into. And again, to retain all your information just to let you make a credit card payment to pay your rent, something doesn't add up. And I'm calling this out also because if that's worth $20 billion, then our whole civilization is headed in the wrong direction. If you can create a garbage app that just silos everybody's personal info, it makes it a little bit harder for you to pay your rent, and somehow all that info is worth $20 billion, I don't buy it. Then the whole private equity market is bullshit. It's all bullshit. If that's worth 20 billion, then what's your crypto worth? The crypto's got to be worth trillions. If absolute fucking garbage is worth 20 billion, right? Someone says they started using Bilt 3 months ago. The site is janky. Site's janky, and it seems like they got scammed. There we go. I'd like to hear from other people also. So there's the first other person to corroborate my concerns. Again, to pay rent anywhere in the US, why do I suddenly have to go through Bilt Rewards? I can find almost no information about their founder, which is unusual in fintech. Find almost no info about this guy. They're not a bank. Again, if this were like Wells Fargo or JP Morgan saying, "Hey, we're going to roll out a nationwide rental payment program and make everything more convenient," that'd be one thing. There's no network effect, right? There's no benefit for you as a consumer because Bilt is a nobody. Bilt's a total nobody. So I'm worried. I'm worried. This is the direction we're headed in. Is when you want to pay for anything, there's going to be some middleman company that comes in just for that industry. So when you want to pay for your groceries instead of just using a credit card, there's going to be some Bilt groceries service where you got to use them to pay the grocery store. It's a step backward. It's literally a pre-Satoshi business model. When somebody's rent is due, you should send them a link with, like a Stripe invoice link so they can pay with a credit card and your address, your PO box, if you accept physical checks, and your ACH info if you want people to transfer money to you from their bank account, and then a little QR code at the bottom, maybe two QR codes, right? Bitcoin and Ether. Would you like to pay your rent in Bitcoin or Ether? And then they get the money. It's settled within minutes. They can look on the blockchain and see that they actually have your rent payment. No chance of a reversal, no chance of a chargeback or a bounce check. They just have the money. And there's no need to charge you a $200 processing fee because their crypto processing fee was close to nothing, right? You guys see what I'm saying? Like, why is that not the process for every single rental unit in the country? Option of credit card, check, or crypto. Not pushing you into this weird rewards program that chases you around for the rest of your life and isn't even a bank. Okay? Ken says, I realize you never endorsed or spoke on Gemini. I'm just mad at them. Yeah, it's too bad they dicked you on their credit card. Hopefully they can figure it out for you. Definitely. I think early Bitcoiners deserve better treatment. And so somebody says the rental management switched them to Bilt. They now accrue points, but this time they couldn't redeem the points. I ignore their products. I don't trust it. Yeah, earlier today I tried to redeem $37 of points. Couldn't do it. If you can't redeem the points that are already on their platform, and they rejected my Citi credit card, and they rejected the gold card too. Who the fuck are these people? They reject Citibank? Like, if you got to reject the gold card, that's fine. You're rejecting Citibank. Like, what else are we supposed to pay you with? This is outrageous. Bilt Rewards is the worst fintech company of 2025. And for Forbes to say they might be worth $20 billion. Again, if that's the case, if a little app that makes everybody's life more difficult, if that's worth 20 billion, what is our sacred Bitcoin really worth? Once price discovery fully kicks in, what's that worth? If absolute fucking garbage is worth 20 billion, what's a real payment network that's available 24/7, 365 and uncensorable and nearing $110,000 a coin? What's that worth? This is the only field I really know anything about is payments and currency. I know I've taken off as a journalist. Maybe I got the Pizzagate stuff wrong. Who knows? I never saw any of that stuff firsthand. I've never been to Epstein Island. But what I know for sure is I know payments. I know money. And the Bilt Rewards business model is disgusting. In 2025, when we have blockchains that are, in the case of Bitcoin, the fifth largest asset on the planet is Bitcoin. Why is Bilt Rewards treating us like we're all beggars? I don't get it. I really don't. And the same with this Gemini credit card. Why treat Ken like he's a criminal? Why even offer him the credit card if you're going to be such dicks about it? That's an issue I've had is like people will offer me stuff and then they get all weird with me and I'm like, "Hey, if my money's not good enough for you, why'd you even come to me?" You know? Something rude about that, something in poor taste to take somebody's business and then say, "Oh, you're not what we want." Well, there are a lot of people who want what I have. So, yeah, this Bilt Rewards thing, I really want to hear from other people. I appreciate Sherman or Shearman, appreciate her thoughts. But so many Americans are renters, and even rich people rent. You know, when Elon Musk goes on a super yacht, he rents it for a week. He doesn't buy a $30 million yacht. He just rents it for 300K and then throws them the keys at the end of the week, and they clean it. They clean it, they refuel it, they take it back in the dock, right? It's at the top, people rent all the time. Unfortunately, Bilt Rewards has somehow snuck in there. Again, I don't understand this. They're not JP Morgan, they're not Wells Fargo. When I look up their founder, I find almost no information, which is weird for me as a researcher. Is this guy just a carve out? Is he a ghost? Like, how come I can't find any information about a guy who's now in charge of everybody's rental payments? Seems weird. And when you tie somebody's finances to their physical address, that gives them a lot of power, especially when you have millions of people's data, right? When you have their active bank account and their active credit cards, all of them, as well as where they physically live, that's a lot of centralized data that's valuable, not only to whoever this shithead is trying to sell to. It's not only valuable to Bill, it's valuable to every hacker in the world. So it's not wise, not smart, not a good thing. Hey, what's up, Brad? Yeah, so we're calling out things that just aren't good. It's 2025. You should make things easy when it comes to paying people. We've solved this one between Bitcoin and Venmo and PayPal. Payments are solved. We don't need a new $20 billion app to creep in there and make everybody's life more difficult just so some fucking third worlder can get his $20 billion payout. We don't need that. No thanks. I think Make America Great Again, in part, is saying no thanks to that. We got Bitcoin. We got Bitcoin. We don't need some scammy app taking in all our personal info to just process a credit card. And then it can't even process the credit card. What is well, BlackRock runs one in their office, right? I think there's a Bitcoin node, or no, sorry, there's an Ethereum node running from the International Space Station. You can fit a lot more data in an Ethereum transaction than Bitcoin. And they're running a node from the space station. You know, clearly this argument that if you host the node, you are complicit in every single transaction on the blockchain is patently ridiculous. They pay by check. Maybe I'll order some checks and pay that way to avoid bill. I think I'm going to do that. I think I'm going to speak to the leasing company. I'm going to pay them like just a few months in advance by check. I don't want to deal with Bill. Again, I looked into their founder. The fact I can find almost no information about him except he used to work at Tinder. That's it. We're going to give the world's financial information to this guy. Again, to silo your address where you sleep at night with all your financial data and to give that to a total unknown is actually not smart. It's actually not good from an infosec perspective. Uh, Fascinating though, right? It's weird that we got these centralized apps that are still trying to fundraise. And so his whole thing is to show user growth, right? Show a bunch of new users so that he can then cash out and sell it to somebody. But we don't want your service. We actually don't even want to sign up for it. So your $20 billion cash out may not happen when what you've created is a parasitic fucking face hugger. It's a face hugger app that kind of destroys the very simple process that was already in place for paying rent across the entire country. It's a very simple process, credit card, check, or ACH. It was solved. It was a solved issue. And then the only problem is some people don't have the money to pay rent, but that's not a structural issue. And the credit card fees were kind of high, but charging people more than anybody else, that doesn't solve it. What an absolute fucking scam. So anyway, welcome your final comments and thoughts. Somebody says they bought Bitcoin at 100K and they sell it at 109K. Okay. They don't believe people are willing to spend it, so I don't believe it will reach 500K anytime this decade. I'm actually surprised with how successful it's been with so little real world use, right? Or so little store usage, right? People aren't using it to pay for coffee. People aren't using it to pay for dinner or to pay for their clothes at the mall. And people don't use gold for that either. So obviously, people parking their money in ETFs, they're Bitcoin based. That's a real use case. I know people online are tipping each other in Bitcoin. Another real use case. But no, I don't see much use in the real world aside from the Bitcoin ATMs and malls, which allow you to convert dollars into bit. I don't see it being used a lot. That scares me, to be honest. I've talked about this before. So one of the things that scares me is once you get people actually using it, that's when you don't have to worry. That's when it's locked in. Right now, the next administration, they could reverse a lot of this stuff. They could end the Bitcoin Reserve Act or whatever that executive order was. And they could villainize Bitcoin again. We only got 3 years of Trump, right? And then it could go back to the status quo. But if everybody's already using it, and if like Amazon accepts it, and if this is how you're paying your mortgage is in Bitcoin, then to take it away from people would be completely untenable, you know. Somebody says gold and silver are cheap compared to Bitcoin. Gold and silver are cheap, according to somebody. Yeah, if stacking sats, is the total platonic ideal of financial freedom, then logging into Bilt Rewards at the end of every month, logging into Bilt just so that this weirdo anchor Jane, this CEO of Bilt, just so that he gets his $20 billion payout from his shit app. There's a difference. There's a difference between stacking something for yourself and for your future versus being forced to put all your information into a centralized app for the 100th fucking time. And it doesn't even work. You do all that and it doesn't even process a major credit card. What a joke. Absolute joke. This is why Bitcoin persists. Is the world's not going to deal with a billion bills. We don't need 100 different apps to pay our stuff every month. We want one thing. We want one way to do it, you know? Yeah, I think quantum computing will be able to break Bitcoin private keys eventually. And there's already Adam Back and some other people are already talking about post QC, post quantum computing updates that could be implemented. And my only thing that I realized, I'm not the computer science expert. One of these updates has to be installed before the quantum computers get good enough. It's like people don't seem to get that. It's like you need to earthquake proof your building before the earthquake, right? To do it 5 minutes after the earthquake doesn't actually protect you. And it's much the same with this quantum stuff. Anyway, I'm going to head out. I want you guys to dig deep into Bilt Rewards. Look into everything you can find. Send us david@fulcrum.news. That's my tip address. Send us any information you come across or any screenshots that seem relevant if you use them, any experiences you've had. We're going to dig deep. Again, why is suddenly every renter in the US being forced to use this weird app that charges you just as much as before, if not more, but now centralizes all your info as a renter, even when you switch properties, even when you switch companies? Who are these people? Thank you guys so much. God bless.